Gonna have Charlie Brown.
Really?
Yeah, or it had been for sale for years ago.
I did not know that. Okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah, I mean, we'll try something different this time. I mean, have a little roll-in with Phil talking and the crew. I like it. Hey, welcome everybody to the Probetus Podcast. I'm your host, Matt Fisher. It's write that down, the Probetus Podcast. I'm feeling a lot under the weather today. You can tell by my voice. I think producer Paul called it Barry Manilow. I like Barry White more than Barry Manilow, but to my left, we've got Phil Irwin. Hi, Phil.
Hello.
Oh, good try. Across from me, we've got Mr. Mark Jensen.
Thank you very much.
That's better. And Chrissy, your turn. We've got Chrissy Lund.
Hello.
And that just sounded
That was not a good attempt.
Hello.
petrifying.
I can't do it.
But, so I'm going to talk less today, which I know everybody's excited about. But before we get into it today, I did want to just have that opening and just see how everybody's doing. And I'm just going to go right to it. There were some dramatic things that happened at Probetus
Drama.
in the last 72-ish hours, and I'll tee it up with that. So, Phil, why don't you go?
Let's just say I'm happy to be alive. And I'm thankful to be alive because of Mark Jensen. Change the camera. There we go.
Dr. Mark Jensen.
Mark saved my life on Friday.
Like, you were outside and you fell down, and I mean, how did he save your life?
So there I was. Came to work Friday morning.
Sicily,
And
1942.
I went back to the water cooler kitchenette area. And I was having classic water cooler conversation with Mark and Eric. And I think it was Eric said, "Hey, how was your night?" And I said, "It was awful. Had stomach pain all last night. Couldn't figure out what was wrong." So anyway, we were conversing. And Mark suggested, he planted the seed in my head. He said, your symptoms and the location of your symptoms sounds similar to someone having appendicitis.
Now, let me just ask. So, obviously, Mark, you are a doctor.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
After he got out of bodybuilding, he went to med school.
Man of many talents. He's taking this gig now. I don't know why, but we are so blessed to have him. So, continue.
Anyway, he told me, appendicitis, and I'm anti Googling your symptoms just because it always.
Yeah, let me say that, don't just as a note of encouragement to anybody watching this, don't WebMD anything because you're either going to have cancer or COVID, but in that
or
order.
both.
Or both at the same time.
But anyway, so I decided not to do that. But like any wise man, I decided to text my wife instead of consulting the internet. And I said, "Hey, Suzanne, Mark mentioned this. I can't get it out of my mind. What do you think?" And she was quick to also say, "No, I'm sure you're fine." And
Love.
I'm like, "Yeah, you're right." And so I went about my day. I was still working. I was making Matt money left and right. I was making so much money on Friday. And then Suzanne texts me back a couple minutes later, and it's just a screenshot. It wasn't WebMD, but it was one of those types of sites. And I start reading through the symptoms, and I'm like, that's me. That's everything I've experienced last night. And right now.
We should say prior to this, you, since it started with back pain, you're like, well, I'm going to go to the chiropractor.
Yeah,
So that was going to be
I
your
already had
solution.
I had an appointment scheduled for Friday at noon. And then I had the water cooler conversation with Mark Friday morning. And then I'm reading through the symptoms. And I briefly mentioned it to Matt. And he said, might be worth just stopping in at the clinic.
Oh, so now Matt's involved.
Yeah,
Okay,
Matt's
so
involved.
we got the doctor. We've got the assistant to the doctor, maybe. And then did Chrissy ever jump in on any of
I
this?
didn't even know he left.
Chrissy didn't find out until
Chrissy
Monday.
didn't know
No,
that
I
she
was
left.
like, Phil must have gone home. Matt said he wasn't feeling well. Little did I know he was under the knife.
So continue. So
So I stop at the chiropractor at noon, and my plan was to get my adjustment and then stop in at the clinic, get this wrapped up in an hour. They'll tell me, "Hey, you're overthinking it. You'll be just fine. Go home." So that's the plan. I went to the chiropractor, and my doctor was super gracious. He's like, "Okay, let's just do the upper portion of your back." He's like, "I don't want to twist and turn you if you're having pain in your abdomen. So let's leave that alone. And he's also super gracious. He said, depending on what you find out, he said, come back later and we'll finish free of charge. Good guy. But anyway, so I finished my appointment. I decided I'm not going to eat.
Appointment number 1.
I'm not going to eat lunch yet because this is just going to be quick. I'll just grab lunch on my way back to the office. So I haven't eaten. I was stopping at the clinic and I was there until the next day.
So did you ever go to the hospital or did
Yeah.
they do this all at the clinic?
So they do your normal tests and the doctor's like, nah, you only shown one of the 4 symptoms that we normally check for. You're probably fine, but let's order an x-ray.
Okay,
And
let me go
then-
back to that. So
then they order the next test.
So how many doctors do we have now? We've got the doctor at the back. We got Dr.
Oh,
Mark
yeah.
Jensen. And then we've got the doctor then we got the doctor at the walk-in.
Yep.
And then we also have the doctor at the ER.
Yep. Eventually,
Can I just ask, and just to finish the story, can I ask, of all those doctors, who was probably the most accurate out the gate, like with diagnosing you?
It was Mark. Like he
that's what I thought.
suggested, hey, what if it's appendicitis? And then that was the ultimate, what do they call it? Diagnosis.
Right. So, Mark,
So I could have saved Phil a lot of extra steps if he would have just listened to me.
A lot of insurance money.
From point A right there and would have done.
I tell you what, it was actually pretty interesting hearing from the initial, I don't want to say actual doctor, but the official doctor employed not by Probetus. He's like, I want to jump straight to, he called it a CT scan. He said, I want to jump straight to a CT scan because it's going to be accurate. You're an adult. That's what we do. He said, however, money's a funny thing. And he said, insurance will pay for the CT scan, but only if you've done this test and this test beforehand. So it doubles, triples the cost of the end bill, but they won't pay the final one until you've done the other one. So he basically apologized in advance, said, I'm going to run you through the motions here with all of these tests because I want to make sure that you don't get stuck with this bill at the end, which I appreciate, but he was right. I had to do like every test.
yeah. Well, I'm glad that we'll just leave it at Mark saved your life.
Mark saved my life.
Good.
Yep.
Awesome. Yeah, and what a harrowing tale. I mean, that was literally like 72 hours ago, and look at this superstar here
I was texting.
rocking it out.
I was texting Mark and Katie in our office, and I was emailing clients while I was in the waiting room because this took a really long time. Like I was there all the rest of the day. Hurry up and wait. Hurry up and wait. But I was able to make several. Like I wasn't finished with my day. I still had the whole half of Friday. I had stuff I had to get done, so I was able to get stuff done in the waiting room until finally I just ran out of battery on my phone. So I had to stop.
He ran out of battery on his phone, but listen, folks, he did not run out of battery on himself because he could have gone on and on and on. The Energizer Phil. I like it. Very good.
I had to have the nurse charge my phone. She took it to the nursing station and put my name sticker on it.
All right, so we know how Phil and Mark are doing. Phil owes Mark his life. Did I say that right? Phil, Mark.
Yeah,
Phil was Mark his life. Yeah.
We're still drawing up terms. I'm not sure how long, how long he can hang this over my head. But
How are you doing, Christy?
I got this crick in my neck.
Oh boy, that's how it all started for Phil.
It
And
hasn't gone away yet. Migrated.
Okay, let me just say, Mark, any comments?
I think. Let me think.
Oh, is this how we did it with you?
yeah, at the water cooler. Though.
Yikes.
I think you just slept wrong, and Matt's causing too much stress at the office.
I agree. I think that diagnosis
kidding.
is accurate.
He's so good.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
The weight of the world on my shoulders.
All right. Well, I'll have to talk to the good doctor, and see what we need to do for treatment there.
And Matt, I kind of feel like you have like a cold coming on. I think there could be a little bit of seasonal allergies in with that. So I think if you just continue to take your vitamins, but I kind of feel like it's not going to go into like anything real major because I think it's a little bit of seasonal allergies coming in too.
Thank you, Mark. I appreciate that unsolicited diagnosis. Now it's unsolicited even. I appreciate that. Well, let's get into now that we're a good solid 10 minutes into the show, let's talk about our quote for the day. So the write that down quote for the day is, you pay for what you get. If you want the best, pay for it. Phil, would you have any idea where and when I would have said this and why?
Absolutely.
Oh, usually it's like I don't really know, but I'm going to make something up. That sounds good.
No, I know this one.
Okay, give it to us.
So I'll preface this by saying I enjoy expensive things. And not just expensive for expense sake. I'm not like walking the red carpet or anything. I just want to make sure that if I buy something, it is the best. I always try to shoot for the best. So when I started at Probetus, I'm like looking through all these products, and there's a lot of stuff that's, I'll call it in the middle. There's a section of stuff that's at the bottom, which is usually like price conscious. And then there's this upper echelon, this like high reaching stuff that's expensive. And I'm like, Matt, show me all the cool expensive stuff. And he's like, I don't know if you're going to be spending much time there. And I'm like, yes, I will. I can sell this. And so I was looking
You said
into,
that. I do remember that.
I was looking into expensive leather bags. I was looking into name brand electronics, like anything that was expensive and cool and high quality. And I'm going to sell this stuff. And I remember one conversation was basically I was frustrated because I hadn't sold anything expensive. Matt was totally right. He's like, yeah, people don't necessarily want to get the best all of the time. And I couldn't believe it because that's how I am. I want to get the most expensive, best possible thing. And then he dropped this nugget of wisdom on me.
But
Yeah.
you want to have the best.
Yes.
Do you want to give away the best?
Ooh.
Yeah, good point.
I mean, are you going to buy the best thing? I mean, it depends on who you're giving it to. But a lot of people's budgets just don't warrant that.
So I understand your point. However,
Boom, boom, boom.
very many people out there will lead in the conversation and they will say, hey, I don't have, I'm paraphrasing. Hey, I don't have any money or any budget. However, I want something that's really good quality and not going to break. And I need a bunch of them. And you have three things there. You have high quality, you have inexpensive, and you have large volume. Those three things cannot intermingle. They cannot.
No, I think they say
You have to
can
pick
have
one.
like
Choose two.
Pick
Yeah.
one or two,
of the
yeah.
three. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
what
you
two
get.
things are the most important?
So, I mean, we can talk about this all day, but Chrissy does bring up a good point. From the perspective of the client, if you don't have the budget, what can you do?
I'm also on the other end of the spectrum of you. I am notoriously cheap.
What do you mean by that?
I don't like to spend money. I like nice things, but I will find a deal before I buy something really expensive.
Do you like that thrill of like you feeling like you've beat the system?
Oh, yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Oh, and impulsive people spend more money. If you can wait, I can wait out a deal
Yeah.
like nobody's business.
That's funny. I just watched the Seinfeld episode where George buys the suit for half price. Anyways, he waited out the deal. George is cheap too. But let me ask you, Chrissy. So you're saying you're cheap. So
I don't like cheap things, but I don't like to spend money.
So what do you?
I'm
What do you?
thrifty. I'm thrifty.
Okay, we'll get back to that. Mark, what are your thoughts on you pay for what you get, so you have to if you spend a lot of money, you're probably going to get something good. Do you agree? Disagree?
I'm not too sure if that's always the case. Just all of my years of working retail, I'm a firm believer. You know what? It's like you can have this shirt here, and it can be, let's say, just a generic brand. It's going to cost you $10. You slap that certain logo on there, and now that $10 shirt is $50. And you know
Paying
what?
for the logo.
And that's the thing. I think that's where I think as consumers we get tricked a lot because I can remember that even with buying like vitamins and stuff like that. You start thinking like, oh, this vitamin here, it's like that's the name brand and it's for $6. But let's say the company brand, it's for $4. But oh, am I still getting the vitamin C? But if you
They're
look
all
at
regulated.
so that's the thing. I think on that end, and I do think there's certain things obviously spend your money on, but I do think a lot of it is just such a mind game for us because I just firm believer, you slap that logo or that brand name on there and those things are going to work. But I have, like I said, there's been times I've bought things where I'm like, oh yeah, I think they're good. And yeah, like shoes, for example, they're not that great. But, but I think that we have to sometimes stop and think and be cautious on that, because I think that's what happens.
I think some people fall for sexy packaging.
Oh, so now we got brands and sexy packaging that are making people.
Like you can buy something on
Get
Amazon.
tricked.
They call it frustration-free packaging, and it literally shows up in a brown box. And if you were to go to the store and buy it, it would be in this like fancy package.
Why would it cause frustration?
You have kids, you know the frustrating things about opening packages.
Especially toys.
Yeah.
Like they always they have a Phillips screwdriver that attaches the item to the box. Like, what the heck?
Yeah.
And if you're in an emergency situation, like an event or a birthday,
Yeah.
that toy needs to come out of the box now. And if you're not prepared with a high quality product like I am,
Oh Lord.
Oh, here it is.
There
What
it
a
is.
do we got there?
multi-tool made in USA. This is the Leatherman T4. You can look up my YouTube channel. I do a review of it because
Holy
it's
smokes,
high
is this-
quality.
Is this like some sort of crossover?
Anyway,
Wow.
I'll
Wow.
finish the point before
All
I
right.
self-advertise. But if you're not prepared with that tool, like the kid doesn't get the toy out of the package. So you're right, Chrissy. I do relate. I now understand what frustration-free packaging is.
But also, when you're talking about spending money on quality things, shoes.
oh yeah.
Spend your money on shoes.
Yep.
So can I have a story that correlates to the whole shoe concept?
I don't see why not.
Please.
It's an open forum.
You don't have to talk then. So I remember having a conversation one time with a guy, and he was lamenting the cost of tires for his automobile. So I'm comparing auto tires to shoes.
You know I can't stop talking. So what you're saying is tires
Basically-
are the shoes of the car.
Correct. And
I agree.
shoes are the tires of a human. Anyway, and he was talking about
Interchangeable.
how they're so expensive. And it's like, yeah, you're right. Like, I hate that, spending so much money on tires. And I was watching a show on Discovery, and they had a race car driver they were interviewing. And he said, the only thing between you and the road is your tires. He said, I don't care how much you spend on your engine, how much you spend on your suspension. I don't care who's driving. He said, the only way that you communicate movement from your car to the road is through the tires. He said, that should be the best thing on your vehicle. And it blew my mind. He was absolutely right. And I've translated that in my own life to the shoe conversation where, even for like my kids, they grow out of them in a day, right? But they use them 100% of the time,
Yes.
like all the time. And so I'm willing to spend top dollar for a good quality tennis shoe.
You know what? I'm glad you learned the lesson on the car tires, though, because my husband was in the car business for years and years and years, and he said people would come in, guys would come in the shop, and they would tell him XYZ needs to be fixed on your car, and the guy would say, "Well, I don't want to do all that because it's just the car my wife drives the kids around town in." It's like your most precious cargo.
Yeah.
Like, oh, it's just the wife and kids.
Good point.
Spend the money.
Yeah.
All right. So what I'd like to go to real quick, and this is an off the cuff question for maybe I should ask Mark because he's probably got a pretty good answer. But we talked about packaging, and I don't know why my brain went there like a squirrel. And we talked about those toys, which if you think a paper cut's bad, then you've never had a box cut. And if you
Right.
think a box cut's bad, then you've never had a toy packaging cut, which you'd have to go see Dr. Mark
Like
Jensen.
the plastic when
stitches.
you cut it with
Yeah.
a knife and then
Oh,
it becomes the knife.
So here's the
Shim.
question. We've got this packaging, and then what'd you call it, Chrissy?
Frustration-free.
Free packaging. Is there other packaging that you've experienced in your life that has been tough or tricks to get it open? And I'm gonna start with one back in the late 1980s, early 1900 and through the 1990s, and that's those CD cases. Do you remember how hard it was? First off, just to get into the cellophane wrapper, like you needed a paper clip or something like to rip through that because
Yeah.
a normal person's fingernail wouldn't work.
Teeth.
You had to, and then you do the teeth, which is completely awful.
And before that, the guy working at Sam Goody has to take it out of that plastic frame that it
Right,
was
yeah,
in.
and I'm not even talking about the plastic.
know what I'm
frame.
talking
Like,
about?
I do, and he's done that. He's used his fancy little tool and
Little
gotten
key,
it
yeah.
open. Yeah, a key of sorts. And he gives this thing to you, and I'm like, this is ridiculous. And it wasn't until CDs were almost out that I learned the trick, where once you get the cellophane off, then there's that sticker on
sticker.
top.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I learned the trick where you flip
You take the cover
bottom
off.
of the cover,
Yes.
and then you open it likewise, or like so, as Grandpa Francis, rest in peace, Grandpa would say, and then you would remove the sticker
Yeah.
easily because that was off, and then you'd put the plastic cover back on.
I remember somebody showing me that. It was life changing, and I never stopped. It was really helpful.
Well, you did stop when they stopped making CDs, right?
Wait,
think they still
they
make
stopped
'em.
making CDs?
They still make them.
What?
They still make DVDs. You still got to open those?
Do they?
They
Oh,
do.
yeah. Heck yeah.
But you can't do it with the DVD case.
No.
No, I
So
learned
I've
that too.
shredded
It's like-
several DVD cases because of that.
Yeah. So Mark Jensen, is there any sort of packaging that you are really just hating getting open?
As crazy it is, like even sometimes like on your like vitamin that paper coating, like sometimes they don't have enough of a lip, obviously
yep,
you gotta punch it, but like if
yep.
you're trying to peel it off just like perfect, sometimes you're like,
Pill bottles.
yep.
Oh,
Pill
yeah.
bottles.
That's the age we're at now.
Yeah.
Open my pill bottle.
Paul has a comment, and I've learned after last week, which I still haven't listened
You
to,
haven't
that I'm
listened.
very frightened to even turn this button over to Paul. But please, Paul.
Okay, I have a question. So you're talking about the DVDs. So you get the DVD and it has like the cardboard sleeve on it. Do you throw that, or do you keep putting the
Oh.
DVD back in the cardboard sleeve when you're done?
So you're talking like the cardboard sleeve that had like the music.
It's like the jacket.
Yeah, like it's like just like the cardboard like art
Yeah.
thing that you put it
Oh.
They
into.
call it an O sleeve. I've looked into this for
All
myself.
right. Good question.
I have a system.
Okay. I'd like
And I
to-
don't know why I didn't do it sooner, because when we go camping in the camper, we don't have Wi-Fi or TV or internet, so we have a DVD player. And last year I bought like the 80 CD zipper case. So now I buy the DVD, chuck the case,
You chuck them like fully.
DVD.
They're gone forever.
Gone.
Wow.
Well, I probably have them in a box somewhere. DVD goes into the flip zipper case.
Yep.
Done.
All right.
Man, this is feeling really throwback because everybody had a CD wallet.
Oh yeah.
That's why I forgot about
Yeah.
them. And I was like, these are still applicable.
So we've got child toys, we've got CD cases, we've got like pill things. Pill
You got to let me
boxes.
say one. This is like a genuine make me angry pet peeve for packaging that I have.
Oh, please. I like those.
Okay. Frozen pizza boxes with the stupid paper perforated zipper on the end. Have you ever in your entire life successfully pulled the entire end? I'm talking like a DiGiorno pizza box, right?
Okay.
You grab the little paper zipper and you're like, this is going to be great. Easy open packaging. Screw that. It
what-
never works.
Okay,
Ever.
let's take
you
a
get like
poll.
4 inches, it tears. And so you have to grab it and you grab the next little piece. You're like, oh, good. It's going good. No, another 3 inches. You can't open it that way. Why do they even put it there?
How about you, Mark? Do you have a problem with opening your pizza boxes with the perforated zipper paper?
I'm
thing?
not privileged and can afford to buy frozen pizza. I don't spend my
Especially
money
DiGiorno.
DiGiorno, so I guess I'm not high class. So when I open up like a tombstone on the plastic, it comes out just easy.
Tombstone.
Oh, man. You
Or the
guys.
pizza.
What are they? I forget the different names. I don't even buy frozen. I make my own.
Well,
That's
good
how cheap
for
I am.
you guys in your privileged lives. No, it doesn't have to be pizza. Anything with the paper zipper.
Yeah, no.
Oh no,
It
that's
doesn't
not
work.
That's not healthy.
Oh, my
No,
gosh.
I'm on Phil's side. I don't really know about the I assume I agree with the pizza thing because the Kingsford, I think it's Kingsford, the charcoal,
Yeah.
has the same thing where it gives you these and they're all easy to read instructions, right? It's like,
See, I can
all you
nail
need-
Kingsford.
I mean, I can't even nail like a Kit Kat bar. Like it says, do this and then rip this way. It's like by the time I get done, it's a chocolate gooey mess. So, but yes, I know the paper zipper. I've never heard it called a paper zipper, but
I-
I'll call it that.
What would you
forever.
call it? But can you
Paper
envision
zipper?
what
no,
I'm
I
describing?
think that's a good name
Okay.
for
Are you
it.
pulling it the right direction?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah, you follow those directions, and
Yes.
it's like, and it shouldn't be that hard.
Not
it
user
really
error.
shouldn't.
When it comes to prepackaged food, of which I am a connoisseur, I am a rule follower. I follow the rules. Like
Okay.
I will actually measure out a 1/4 cup of milk when I'm making macaroni with a measuring cup. Yes, I do.
You pour that stuff into your little heart's desire.
But it never turns out when you do it, it's too runny because you always assume, oh, 4th cup is way more than it is. You got to measure it. Now I'm really angry.
That's why you
people
add your
can't
own
even
cheese.
relate to what I'm saying.
I partially relating.
Here's how I could go. Add a little bit here, add a little bit there, and
some spices. That is my.
Oh
pet
wow!
peeve.
So
You
what do
guys
you
are
think
gonna
about
make
that,
me
Phil?
blow through a stitch
Phil,
I'm gonna blow through my stitches, and it's going to be workman's comp. Get ready, Matt.
You didn't get paper, not paper stitches, right?
No, I had to take
a paper
vacation
zipper
time.
stitch.
Okay. But so Chrissy says this thing about, okay, you've got Phil on one side and he's talking about, I follow the box, I'm doing the quarter teaspoon of butter and a pinch of salt, and he actually has a measuring thing that says pinch, so he's doing this perfectly. And then you got Chrissy adding additional spices that aren't even on the box.
Well,
Do you do that? Like
my pet peeve is when
No,
the
no,
recipe
no, let
says
me-
some spices. I need more direction than that.
Right, but I'm asking you, like, so you got the Kraft mac and
I'm
cheese. Do
learning.
you sometimes you add things that aren't on the instructions?
absolutely.
Okay, Phil, do you do that?
No,
Okay,
I will never do that.
wow. And there's
As written.
I like to put beans in mine.
Gross.
I put beans in everything.
in your mac and
yeah.
mac and cheese.
Oh yeah, beans, olives. What else do I put in there? I call it mac and crap.
I
Oh, it's
agree
so
with that.
Good. It's so good.
Now you agree that it's crap.
I like to put
I
beans
agree.
in
That
everything.
sounds
Ask
terrible.
my husband.
Wow.
Put beans in it.
All right, this
Beans in it.
since Mark is a doctor, actually a doctor that does not get paid well because he can't afford
DiGiorno
pizza. He has to stick to the Jacks.
must be still paying for medical school.
Is there anything, Mark, that you've purchased where you feel like I'm gonna go, since we're talking cheap, and this could go to you too, Chrissy, where you've gone cheap because you've said I'm cheap,
I'm cheap.
and it's turned out junk, like crap. Can you think of anything where you've gone cheap and it's been bad?
Yeah, there's been like, obviously, I'm a shopper, but I've like sometimes bought a pair of shoes thinking, oh, like this is the look.
Back to the shoes. So
Yep,
you've
yep.
gone cheap, but you've gone so like we say name brands on this. We get lots of royalties whenever we
Yeah.
do it. So let's just say it. So you get
Go for it.
You see the dude shoes, right? Dude shoes are super popular right now. Is it Hey Dude or Dude? You know what I'm talking about?
I think they're just dude.
I think they are too. So you see that style.
Sorry,
shoe.
I don't buy cheap shoes. I've never heard of that brand.
They're not
No, they're
cheap.
not cheap. They're you'll get there. someday.
Money wise, they're
So-
not cheap. Built wise.
So let's just, and I'm not saying these are the shoes you bought, but you get dude shoes, but you get like DU with like the, not the umlaut.
two
or
dots?
The gucky.
Yeah, the whatever on top. You get dude shoes. So have you been burned? They've looked great, but what happens?
Oh yeah, they're just not like comfortable, or they're not that the form of foot. So I have like certain brands that I will buy Steve Madden shoes all the time. I like Steve Madden shoes. I like Ben Sherman shoes. You know what? So if I find like a brand I like, I will buy several pairs if they have different colors. Just
know-
because. But like so, there's
Yes.
certain ones. But I have like bought like these look really cool, and I will admit I still wear them. Will wear them because I have a few of those. But it's like, yeah, I wear them, then I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna wear these
I
for another
regret
couple
that.
more weeks. Just because they don't have the.
I was gonna buy a pair of Birkenstocks because they're expensive, and I tried
And
them
everybody
on.
on earth has them.
Tried them on. They were so uncomfortable, and so then I tried on a pair of Nikes, and they were so ugly, but they were so comfortable. So I have ugly shoes now.
See,
But
you're
I think the
triggering
key
me
with
with the Birkenstock thing.
They're so uncomfortable.
I'll let Mark go.
I just think like with the Birkenstocks, because I have pair. It's like one of those things. Yeah, they're very uncomfortable when you try them on, but they kind of form to your feet. So you have to wear them.
These were the Evo plastic ones, though. I don't think they would have done
Oh,
that.
never mind. You're right.
Terrible.
Because I was going to say same thing that Mark did. Like with a lot of high quality things, you have to make them conform to
Yeah.
you.
Nope. Not
And that's
those.
definitely the case with leather and cork.
Oh, I got another one.
I need
Yeah.
shoes that can get wet though.
This is another example of cheap.
Right. Well, I sometimes don't. I haven't picked that, but if they give you cheap vodka,
Oh,
that's not good.
like what do you consider cheap? Like,
Like
how low
the
do you gotta
bottom
go?
shelf.
Like the
vodka.
bottom shelf, like bar pour.
Like the $2 a bottle.
That's like, yeah, one drink, massive headache. Good vodka, several drinks, no
Can you
massive
tell
headache.
when you're drinking it?
Yeah,
Like you're like, oh, they gave me the cheap
Yep.
stuff.
you can tell. I can tell. Some
Yeah,
of the-
Mark's, you're an absolute guy, I think. Absolute or higher, probably.
Tito's, yeah, anything. But I just that bar pour. Yeah, you can
You know
tell.
what category though? I think you can spend all the money in the world and still get crap. Electronics.
Right.
To a certain extent, I agree. I feel like there's one company that I will stand by 100%, and that's Bose. Like, I've never been burned with a Bose sound system, earbuds, Bluetooth,
You sound
whatever.
like a dad. Like every dad ever is like, Bose is really good.
Yeah, and every dad for like
They invented the wave radio. Remember that?
Yeah, since the beginning of Bose, every dad, and I'm like a new age dad. Well,
What?
I don't even know what that means. I'm not into
He
it.
plays New Age on his wave radio.
Oh Lord. Is that
Yes.
even a thing?
I don't even know. We've gone off the cliff.
Every time.
Yep. So with that, if you pay for what you get, supposedly, maybe, unless you're cheap or find value.
But can you read the second half of the quote before we end?
Well, didn't I?
I think he did.
But he says,
if you want the best, pay
the
for
best,
it.
pay for it. That's the part that we haven't discussed yet.
Well, we
where-
got no time. We've run out of time. I'm sorry, Phil.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you want the best, please pay for it. People will notice. They will appreciate you. Love, Phil.
And
Phil
everybody,
wants to sell something expensive.
and plus all you listeners out there.
It's been 2 years and 2 months.
Yeah.
I want to sell something.
And
of
for all
the
you
quality.
listeners out there, contact Probitas Promotions and ask to get on Phil's gift list because you're going to get a very, very
Yeah.
expensive
Ooh,
gift
I wanna
for your
be on
birthday,
that
Christmas, anniversary.
Me too.
Contact Phil Irwin at Probitas Promo.
Oh, goodness. Well, thank you all for joining us for another lively discussion. We'll catch you next time. If you ever need to find us, check us out on probitaspromo.com.